So they are different from the other rights. There can be various type of rights that are given to an individual or to a citizen. For example, there are some constitutional rights, there are some non-constitutional rights, there are some legal rights, there are some fundamental rights, right? So what are the differences? For example, when I say constitutional rights, so rights which are guaranteed upon an individual, mentioned, which find a mention in the constitution, will be called as the constitutional rights. All right. Therefore, the non-constitutional rights become those which are provided to you probably with an act, as a act passed by the parliament, so which were not granted to you or mentioned in the constitution. That will be your non-constitutional rights. Okay. Fundamental rights, as the name suggests, fundamental means basic, right? Now these are the rights which cannot be compromised. Okay. The right Hindi word, the exact Hindi word with which we know these fundamental rights are the मौलिक अधिकार, जो आपसे कोई नहीं छीन सकता है. You being a citizen of India, and when you live on this land, so you have those rights with you. And how fundamental are they? How important are they? That if any of the right is breached, any of the right is violated, then the last most important fundamental right that is granted to you is that you can directly go to the Supreme Court under Article 32. If any of your fundamental right is violated. So come what may, these rights cannot be compromised. They cannot be taken away from the individual, right? While such is not the case with the other rights. That may be a legal right, a constitutional right, or a non-constitutional right. So when the line reads fundamental rights are protected and guaranteed by the constitution of country, because constitution is the fundamental law of the land, the most supreme. So fundamental rights are those which the constitution itself will guarantee and take care. So these are the 6 basic categories, the main headings under which all of the fundamental rights have been categorized. For example, the first one being Article 14. We'll talk about the numbers later. Don't worry about the numbers. I hope discussion itna exhaustive rehta hai, and we do it at such a pace that you will be able to memorize most of the articles in the class itself. Okay, so don't worry about the numbers. So right to equality, right to freedom of religion. So this right to freedom is the 6 freedoms that are given to an individual. That includes your right to speech, right to form association, all of that, right? Then right against exploitation, for example, forced labor, right? Child labor. तो वो अब नहीं हो सकता है. Nobody can force you to work. That slavery. Okay, that is a right against exploitation. Then the cultural and the educational rights, right to constitutional remedy. So constitutional remedy का मतलब क्या होता है? इलाज, a solution to a problem, to a disease. So if any of the above 5 fundamental rights is being compromised upon or violated, so if that happens, in that case, you can directly go to the Supreme Court. That is called Article 32, right to constitutional remedy, right? So what is the difference basically between a fundamental right or an ordinary right? What is the difference? That is very important to understand. See, we know that we have read it. The Constitution of India all the more becomes very important and very special given the features, the kind of mix that has been provided here. What kind of features we have done that, along with the kind of rigidity that the present constitution has, it is also flexible enough to change, right? And we have seen that how countries like Nepal and other countries across the globe have changed, or they have written their constitution 4 times, 5 times. So the constitutions have not survived according to the changing demands, the changing scenarios, the political environment, the social aura across the nation. But Indian Constitution has been a very successful document in the sense that the single constitution has survived till today, and we continue and we hope to continue with the same document, and that is why our constitution is called a living document. If you are reading Lakshmikant, you will find these terms there. So don't worry, they are discussed here, and try to relate and recall. Okay. So when you are being asked how the Constitution of India is a living document, so living is something that has life, right? That can be changed, that changes according to the scenario. And so is the case with the Indian Constitution. So when we make uh, amendments to the Constitution, this flexibility is given in the Constitution. Now, what is there that differentiates, that brings out a clear distinction between an ordinary right and a fundamental right is the amendment. While an ordinary right can be changed, it's saying may be changed. If you want to change it, you can easily change it. There is an ordinary process of lawmaking. You will bring an amendment. The amendment has to be passed by both the houses of the parliament. And if it is passed by a certain majority, it will go to the president. The president will sign it, and hence the constitution or that particular right will stand amended, right? But in case of fundamental right, we will do it. In case of fundamental right, there has been several 4 to 5 cases, and the great battle between the judiciary and the parliament, how parliament has tried to curb, to reduce the powers of the fundamental rights. Because see, what will always be a fight or a struggle, a juggle between the citizens and fundamental right is that fundamental rights, to be very appropriately defined, can be called as limitations on state. I hope you all understand. Is the screen visible to everyone? Riti, I believe you can check it. Everything is fine by my end, and all of the other students can see it. Okay. All right. So when I say fundamental right, please try and understand. Fundamental rights जब एक citizen को मिलते हैं, it means they are a limitation to state, है ना? अगर किसी को कोई right मिल रहा है, तो मतलब किसी की freedom को आप छीन रहे हो, या फिर इसको और थोड़ा moderate terms में बोलें, तो किसी की freedom पर at least आप कुछ restriction तो लगा रहे हो कि मेरे पास ये राइट है, तो स्टेट मेरे साथ अब ये नहीं कर सकता, राइट? सो फंडामेंटल राइट्स को भी क्या करेगा इफ पार्लियामेंट वांट्स, क्योंकि हु इज द लॉ मेकिंग बॉडी इन द कंट्री? इट इज द पार्लियामेंट, द लोकसभा, द राज्यसभा, द टू हाउसेस. नाउ व्हाट इफ वन डे दे डिसाइड टू कर्ब योर फंडामेंटल राइट्स, राइट? कि वो बोले राइट टू स्पीच को सिर्फ इतना तक देते हैं सिटीजन्स को that they can speak only, or they can exercise this right only up to this particular level, right? So there was the entire series of cases we will do in fundamental rights, and how Supreme Court with the Keshav Nanda Bharti case in 1973 said that we can change anything and everything under the sun in the constitution. So the parliament is not, they are not restricted. They do not have any restrictions on amending any part of the constitution. They can make changes wherever they want, given the condition that it shall not affect, it shall not be against the basic structure of the constitution. Now, what is that basic structure? That is being defined by the judiciary itself from time to time. There is no single definition to it that read this book and this is called a basic structure. No. As the changing time, with the changing times and whenever the needs evolve, the judiciary tells you that this particular feature is a part of basic structure or not. So what is the very noble intent behind giving that particular doctrine of basic structure is that the constitution, the living spirit, the spirit that was with which the constitution was formed shall remain alive. Okay. So ordinary rights may be changed while the fundamental rights may not be changed very easily. It can be changed only when a constitutional amendment is done. And if there is any infringement of the fundamental rights, that can be challenged by any citizen of India in the court of law.